It's the weekend, and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to Jill on Money. August. I know you don't feel like managing your money, talking about money. Too bad. We got a show to do. We got to talk about money. And we're delighted that you're joining us. If you have a financial question, we would love to hear from you. Our phone number here is 855-411-JILL. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. And I just loved a little bit of stuff in the news that's interesting. I noticed that we've got reports lately that companies are increasing contributions to their 401ks. Isn't that cool? And right now, the average company contribution up to almost 5% of employee salaries. And that's kind of great because remember what happened during the financial crisis is all these companies, they slashed the amount of money that they put away on your behalf. But it does make it really interesting, especially if you're younger, that you absolutely have to try to figure out how you can contribute at least up to the match. At least up to the match. And, you know, I know that we're not saving enough for retirement. It's just we're what we're shooting for is somewhere around the maximum. You can't do 18,000. Back off. Can you do 15%? Can you do 10%? All I know is that the people who are not actually putting money into their retirement accounts and not capturing that company match are leaving money on the table. And the Wall Street Journal did this great analysis of what happens to your 401k when your company match increases. So if you're 25 years old and you're making $40,000 a year, and you contribute up to the max of your company's match, just that part of it. If it's a 6% match over the course of your life, by the time you retire, you have almost $600,000. If it's 10%, and let's say your employer actually contributed up to that amount, you're going to have like way more, almost twice that amount. So the thing that's important here is getting into the habit. Just get into the habit of saving. You will be better off and you will be far happier when you get into your 60s and you have all that money. All right, we'd like to start the program with a call. We've got Kevin on the line from California. What's going on? How can I help you out?
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Sure.
I guess the simple scenario that I'm faced with here is my wife and I were just recently gifted $25,000 from my wife's parents.
Nice.
And so just trying to figure out maybe the best way to use those funds, and thought I would maybe give you a call and get your opinion on that.
Excellent. Now, tell me a little bit about what's going on so we can figure out what the choices are for that $25,000 gift.
Sure. I'll just tell you that on the surface, my thought was to potentially use that towards paying down a portion of our mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Our mortgage is currently at $225,000, 30-year at 4%.
And it's a fixed-rate mortgage.
It's a fixed-rate mortgage.
Okay.
And then I know investing is an important concept as far as saving for retirement and everything. Currently, we have $70,000 in a 401k, and then about $65,000 in our Roth IRAs.
And how much do you guys make together?
Combined, we're at like approximately $90,000 gross.
Okay, and sounds like you've got no other debt besides the mortgage, right?
Right, no other debt.
So you're saving at a good clip there because you got a lot of money saved up.
Yeah, I'd say that we are saving probably close to that 15% mark, and then with my company's contributions, it probably bumps us up to maybe 17 to 18% or so.
That's great. That's terrific, actually.
And then there's also another variable to the retirement equation, too, in that my company does offer a pension.
Mm-hmm.
and I actually am 100% vested in that pension. I'm not going to be using it for some time, being 30, obviously, but my current accrued benefit is approximately $450 a month.
That's nice.
It seems to be that with each additional year of employment, I can expect that benefit to increase between like $80 and $100 a month.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, imagine if you think about, I mean, I don't know if you're going to stay there this long, but I mean, if you were to stay there for 30 years, that could really start to turn into real money, right?
Yeah. What are you kind of thinking at the moment? Have you heard of a mortgage recast by chance?
Yeah, but I don't want you to do that.
Okay.
You've got a cheap mortgage, okay?
Okay.
So you've got a cheap mortgage, it's 4%, which, given how much money you earn in your tax bracket, is probably costing you about 3.25% on an annualized basis. Okay. So here I want you to think about this. You can either pay off that, put that down on the mortgage and essentially lock in a 3.25% after tax return on your $25,000.
Okay.
Or you can use that money to invest for the future, and you would hope to earn more than that 3.5% after tax. However, there's risk in doing that, as you know, because you're a 401k and a Roth IRA investor. So here's my question to you. Are you maxed out on your 401k or your Roth contributions yet?
We have just started to move in the direction of maxing both of our Roths.
Mm-hmm.
My 401k investment options, the company contribution component is really generous, but the investment options are terrible. I only have an option of three things. I can put new money into 100% equities, 100% bonds, or a 50-50 blend of both, but it's very vague in terms of what that equity component consists of. So I don't know if I really like the idea of contributing that much beyond the max.
What about your wife's?
You know what? My wife actually does not have a 401k available to her, but we have been utilizing the Roth.
Okay, but you are maxing out the Roth IRAs right now.
Yes.
But, you're not maxing out the 401k. You're maxing out the Roth, and you still have you got this $25,000. How about this? You got kids yet?
You know what? We don't, and that's a good point. We have kind of started a, quote, kids fund, I guess you could say. Here in the next year and a half or so, I think we're kind of entertaining that idea.
You have to do something to get there, right? You have to, the other things that you have to do.
I was going to say, right?
All right, listen to this. I have my $25,000 gift for you. You're not going to put that down on your mortgage because I don't want you to lose that liquidity. You've got that $25,000. So if you're thinking about kids and you've got sort of, let's call it an after-tax saving, investing / kids fund, I think you should use the $25,000 and you should put it in that fund. Do you have an extra $25,000 burning a hole in your pocket? Give us a call, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. You can always tweet at us at JillOnMoney. More of your questions when we return.
.401k, IRAs, refinancing. She covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
Well, I started out.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, give us a holler. Our phone number is 855-411-JILL. You can send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Hey, have you missed any past episodes? If so, go check out our YouTube channel. Just search Jill Schlesinger, and you'll find it. And while you're out there noodling around, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Better Off. Go to Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere else you find your favorite podcasts. Love to get you on the podcast train. If you like radio and you like spoken word, you're going to love the whole podcast world. All right, let's go to a caller. It's Allison, who's on the line from California. Hi, Allison. How are you? What can I do for you?
Okay, well, I retired early.
You sound like you're 22 years old. I don't understand that. What are you talking about? How old are you?
I just turned 52.
Come on. Okay, 52. You retired early. Really early.
Yeah. And so, of course, now after I retired early, now I'm asking you, was it a good decision?
What's going on? Tell me about, well, how much money do you have?
Well, I have $537,000 in a 401k.
So you haven't rolled that over yet. You retired, but that's still in the old 401k.
Yeah, I worked for a really big company, and they have a really good 401k. So
Great.
I plan to leave it there.
Okay.
I also have $183,000 in the Roth portion of the 401k.
Fabulous.
And $35,000 in a Roth IRA.
Mm-hmm.
Another $30,000 in a non-deductible IRA, which I plan to roll over to a Roth.
Yeah, I'd rather you roll that over anyway. That's a pain in the neck for the IRS to deal with later. So you might as well deal with it and just, you know what I'm saying, just make it into the Roth so the IRS doesn't question that later.
Right. I wasn't qualified. I wasn't able to contribute to a deductible IRA, because I had a 401k and made too much. So I was doing this as a backdoor Roth.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
How I have any money in the Roth IRA. And then I have $68,000 in a variable annuity. I'm going to get a teeny tiny pension of, now it's worth a lump sum of $29,700, but
that's pretty good.
I plan to just collect it as a monthly thing when I'm older. I have $7,600 in a retiree medical savings account that I don't really know a lot about.
Yeah, you'll need that eventually, but not at age 52 probably.
Right. I don't even know if I can access it.
I bet you. Did you contribute to it?
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to. You'll be able to. Whatever you put in, you can always access. This is all very good. I like the story so far.
That's the retirement account, but I have $998,000 in non-retirement.
Oh, wait a minute. In my business, we call that burying the lead. Oh, that's my retirement account. Oh, and I have $1 million in non-retirement account. All right. So did I just do my math correctly and say that you got $1.9 million?
Yeah, a little bit under one. Yeah, something close to that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I already like that number. So that's number one. How much do you need to live on?
So I spent the last year calculating, writing down everything I spent money on because I had no idea. And it came to $54,000 for the year. And
you don't spend a lot.
That made an assumption if I had paid Cobra, which I'm paying now for health insurance all year.
Let's say you need $60,000 maybe. 55, 60. Does that make sense?
I'd feel better because it's not like I had any big expenses, and I have a really old car that I was going to need replacing.
Okay. All right. So we're going to plan for 60. And let's talk a little bit more about a few other things like married, single.
I'm single and I have no children, so I don't have to worry about leaving an inheritance to anyone.
Exactly. Oh my God! I'll tell you what. You shouldn't even. I hope you're using a fake name because wherever you went to college would probably be like, oh, no children. Come, give us all of your money. Okay. And what about your living situation? I mean, you are in a house, in a condo, renting. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I own a townhouse, and I have a mortgage on it. It's my only debt. I just refinanced just before I left work to, improve my cash flow. So I'm not scheduled to pay off the mortgage until I'm 81.
Well, that'll be a great celebration then.
Yeah, but I figure a mortgage rate of 4% is a good deal, so I don't care about paying it off.
Yeah, I think that's a very good deal. And how much is the townhouse worth at this point?
Well, I think after I sold it and paid all the the realtors and stuff, I think I could very conservatively clear $600,000, and I owe about $187,000 on it right now.
That's great. So whatever, $400,000 in equity, and and then some. Do you think you'd stay there? I mean, is it likely, or is it possible that you'd want to go somewhere else?
I think there's a chance, once my friends hit retirement age that I might move out of the area. With, friends that move out of it because I just think it might get too crowded here for my taste.
All right, but we're going to assume that whatever. I'm not going to assume you have cash out of this house and go anywhere else, and you're not going someplace super cheap when you've got extra money. So what I did was a very quick back of the envelope calculation on your $1.9 million, and if we were looking at kind of the normal withdrawal rates. Which, by the way, it's a little bit scary because you're so young. Your money's got to last you for a long time. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be really conservative, you say, all right, let me take 3% of that. And that will generate $57,000 a year, which is great. Some of your money is taxable, though. Well, let's say about half of it is in retirement accounts. So what I would suggest is if you really are never going to work again, which I think is highly unlikely. I don't know why, but I just get the sense. You could do something. What you would probably do is look at your non-retirement assets, draw on those first for the next, 10, 15 years. And then when you are ready to claim Social Security at your full retirement age, or, maybe at age 70, frankly, because you don't need it, then that would probably click in. And it seems to me that you can do this. So in terms of looking back and feeling like, oh, my God, did I make a mistake? I don't think you made a mistake. But that said, it's not such a slam dunk that I wouldn't suggest to you that potentially it might be great if you could maybe pick up a little work here and there. Not a ton, but, 10, 15 grand a year wouldn't kill you. Is that a possibility in your life? Or are you just super done and you're going to give your life to charity right now?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Like right now, I'm filling my time with volunteer work, but I've thought about it. I mean, one of my motivations to work part-time would be I could fund a Roth IRA that way because I'd have some.
You're such a saver. It cracks me up. And here's the thing, and I don't even think you need to. You don't have to fund anything with it. Really, what you would be doing is you'd be earning some money that you just would say it's money I don't have to take from my non-retirement accounts. It's just some amount of money, okay? And it doesn't have to be big money. Just before we go, just give me a breakdown. Are you a balanced investor? Are you a growth investor? What's the tilt for you?
It's much more conservative than I was investing in before I retired.
You can be a little bit more aggressive in your retirement vehicles. So in other words, you could implement a portfolio that's 70-30 in your retirement vehicles, if you'd like. And you could then say, for my non-retirement, I'm going to be closer to 50-50. And the reason why I say that is that you've got to draw on these non-retirement assets. If you were going to take risk anywhere, you would take more risk in your Roth IRAs. Your Roth assets are the last assets you touch. You first tap your non-retirement investments. You then pull money out of your tax-deferred retirement accounts when you have to, 70 and a half. The last money that you touch is your Roth. Okay, if you've got a question about a Roth or which assets to break into first, give us a holler. Our phone number here, 855-411-JILL. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back with more of your questions. It's Jill on Money.
Coming down is the hardest thing. Well, the good old
Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger. Have a question? Call now. 855-411-JILL.
You're back with Jill on Money. And we love to talk to you. We love to hear your voice. We love your emails. We're trying desperately to clean out our email inbox by the end of the summer. I think that's the goal. And we're doing pretty well. We're getting there. But we do like to talk to people. I like to talk to people. Mark, behind the glass enclosed nerve center of this organization, not as much. I mean, I think you'd like to talk to people. I'm just not sure you'd like to talk to people in public. You're right, if you want to. Anyway, this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. And so it can be pretty mysterious. Give us a holler if you've got a question. 855-411-JILL. That is the phone number. You can also email us. And if you're going to email us, just do give us a few details about what the question's about, what's going on in your life, so we can make sure we answer it thoroughly. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Next up, we've got Dwayne from Illinois.
Hi, Jill. The question I have is, I'm going to be selling my house and purchasing a new one. And if I have the cash to pay for the new one, should I pay cash for the house or should I take a mortgage?
Well, that's a good question. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. And, most importantly, when you have that question, I'm most concerned with, will you be depleting your available cash assets, especially non-retirement assets?
The house I'm going to sell for approximately $175,000.
Okay.
And I'm looking at buying a house for double that price, about $350,000.
Okay.
So, what I originally thought was I would take the $175,000 that I got from the sale of the house and use that. But then I've got about $400,000 in savings, non-retirement, that I could use, the other $175,000 out of that, and just pay $350,000 cash, or should I save that and take a mortgage? Because the house right now is mortgage free that I'm selling.
You kind of like that, don't you?
It's nice to be mortgage free. My wife and I are 55, and we're going to be retiring in 10 years, so I plan to work 10 more years. So.
When you retire, will you have some other income? Will you have a pension in addition to Social Security?
Yes, I will have two pensions worth about $6,000 a month.
Will that $6,000 a month cover your needs mostly?
Yeah, I would think so. Plus Social Security, yeah. All four of those should be good. My wife's Social Security, my Social Security, and then those two pensions.
That should work for you?
Yeah, that should work for me.
Even if you have a mortgage, have you run it with the numbers if you were to assume a $175,000 mortgage?
I would plan to do a mortgage for like 15 years at the most. So I'm looking at, working for 10 more. So I'm looking at maybe the mortgage would be like 5 years. Or if I could even pay it off early, but
don't be paying off early. That defeats the purpose of our mortgage game plan. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. First of all, what you ought to do just to verify this is you should just run through and sit down with your wife and say, let's just look at what we think, 10 years from now our real expenses are going to be. And then work backwards, right? Because if you find out, hey, you know what? All in, it is $6,000 a month. That is all we really need. And the Social Security just pays for our fun stuff. But I think that what you really want to do is get your heads around where you will be in 10 years. Now, if you're right, and, the Social Security plus the two pensions covers most of your needs, that's great. If it doesn't, it's actually more proof to me that you probably should not spend the cash. The reason is that I'm guessing that if you got a mortgage now, 4.25%, 4.5% mortgage, I don't know how much it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be less percentage-wise. I still think that blowing through a big chunk of your cash is not a great idea, especially as you approach your retirement. I like having liquidity. So my inclination is to say, get a mortgage for the new house. And, you're putting a big chunk down, obviously, $175,000 down. You're putting a 50% down. And that should make you feel secure in and of itself. That's just a massive down payment, obviously. But then I would keep the cash in reserve. I'd use my cash flow to just kind of fund everything else, whether it's putting into your retirement account or building up more cash as you approach retirement. And then when you get to retirement, you reassess and decide what you guys want to do. And that way you preserve optionality. If you put all that cash down on the house right now, you don't have any choices. And I think that probably you want as many choices as you can, especially as retirement approaches. Can you live with having that mortgage if you know that you've done it for the right reason?
Absolutely.
All right, then that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
I like the options explanation. I haven't heard that, so that makes me. I mean, that's a good option. I mean, it's good to have options because I've been reading and trying, and I go back and forth every day. Do it, don't do it. Do it, don't do it. But I like to have the cash and make those decisions later.
That's exactly right. Right. And, think about this. Life is very strange. You don't know what's going to happen between now and then. God forbid there's like some illness and you need the cash and you don't want it. Or God forbid you've like made this huge choice and the market dumps and you want to have some flexibility, whatever it is. Just remember, this is actually not a binary choice because you always will have the option of paying down that mortgage faster if things are great. If all of a sudden, oh my God, $1 million fell in my lap. So pay off your mortgage, right? But this way you preserve the ability to have that choice in the future. So that's why I like having the cash and not putting it into an illiquid asset like a house.
Oh, that sounds good.
All right, if you've got a financial question and you want to preserve liquidity or you just don't know which way to flip that coin, give us a holler, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your money.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we would love to hear from you. So easy to contact us. Give us a holler, 855-411-JILL, or send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Hey, if you miss any part of the show or you want to check out old shows, go to our YouTube channel. Just search Jill Schlesinger, and all of our shows from, a last bunch of them are there. You can also check out our podcast, Better Off. Get it on Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere else you find your favorite podcast. Mark, I did a great segment on TV recently about money and happiness. You're going to like this one. Don't worry about when. I'm just telling you that this is what I did. Researchers surveyed more than 6,000 people in the U.S., Canada, Denmark, and the Netherlands. They give each person $40, $40 to spend week one, and then $40 to spend week two. And in the first week, as a participant, you've got to buy something material, right? An object, a shirt, a sweater, whatever, a hockey stick. The next week, you've got to spend the same $40, but you've got to spend it on something that will save you time. And the findings were so interesting. People said they felt happier after spending money for time-saving conveniences. So like what? Like housekeeping, delivery, car service. And those folks were happier than the ones who bought the physical objects across all income streams, by the way. So, in fact, if you look at the lower end of the spectrum for income, those folks were even happier when they spent money on time-saving purchases than those from the upper end. What do you think? So what's my takeaway? Err on the side of paying more for the service than for your stuff. That's the deal. My dad always said that. He did. He said that was the best part about having money, to make your life a little bit easier, not to buy stuff. Anyway, all right, money can also fund lots of objectives. And Joe from Wisconsin wants to know, so 529 plans. He literally writes, what's the deal with them? I know they're for college saving. I know they're offered by states. Can you buy one from a state when you don't live in that state? What makes a good 529 plan? What's special about them? What happens if Junior decides post-high school education isn't for him? Glad you asked all of those questions. So let's do a quick 529 plan rundown. So a 529 plan is a college plan. It's operated by individual states. When you put money into a 529 plan, it is protected from federal and usually state income taxes. So all the money you put in grows on a tax-deferred basis. Some plans, if you offer a state income tax deduction for residents, for example, New York does, or Connecticut, or I think Illinois, but New Jersey or California, they don't. Okay, but here's the cool part. When you access the money for qualified college expenses, there is no tax due. It's like a Roth for your college savings, which is fantastic. So you don't have to be a resident of the state to participate in the plan. And that's important, especially if your state does not offer any sort of tax incentive. So I guess that would be the first thing, which is you've got to check to see whether your state has a tax incentive. The next piece of it is you want to see, are the funds that are used in the plan, are they low-cost funds? So you're looking for things like managed by Vanguard or TIAA CREF or T. Rowe Price. You also want to make sure you purchase these plans directly, not through a broker or an advisor or a salesperson. Okay? And in terms of, what happens if Junior doesn't go to college, you can move the account between siblings. If Junior doesn't attend college and you only have one child, you can use the amount yourself, or you will pay a penalty, which is essentially what the tax due would have been. One last thing you didn't ask about, Joe from Wisconsin, is that a lot of people wonder whether using a 529 plan hurts your chance at financial aid. Just know that when you're filling out that FAFSA form, and you do have to put down the 529 account, it doesn't count all the assets for financial aid, just a fraction. So a family that saves for college will have money left over. I think so. A family that saves for college will have more money left over than a family that does not save for college. So it gets assessed at a 5.64% rate. That means the student's eligibility for federal financial aid would decrease by no more than 5.64% of the account value. For more on Section 529 plans, there's a couple places you can go. You can go to finaid.org. That's one place. A lot of really good information about that. You can go to savingforcollege.com. Good stuff there. And Morningstar yearly does an analysis of 529 plans. I think based on the last analysis that Morningstar conducted, the best plans, again, regardless of whether you're a resident or not, were Nevada, Utah, Alaska, and Maryland. Nevada, Utah, Alaska, or Maryland. But do save for college if you can. But again, college only after you do your big three, which is make sure you pay down that consumer debt, save for your emergencies, max out retirement plans. That's your big three. You're listening to Jill on Money, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, give us a holler, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Okay, let's do a quick email here. I don't even want to say this person's name because it's a very specific name. So let's call K. How about that? This is from K. As a big fan of your show, I'd like to thank you for putting on Jill on Money and Better Off, for helping to bring unbiased, sophisticated financial advice to more people. My question isn't so much about my own money, but how I can get started in a career in finance. I'm a current MBA student at the University of San Francisco with a passion for personal finance. But because I don't have a background in finance, I studied political science as an undergrad and worked in public affairs for the Army, I'm finding it difficult to land an internship with the big financial service companies in San Francisco. Would it be advantageous for me to take the CFA or CFP exams in addition to the MBA? Some of my classmates landed internships at smaller investment firms by having the right family connections. Should I focus more on meeting the right people? How can I become a more attractive applicant? Any guidance in helping to get my foot in the door of this competitive industry would be greatly appreciated. Once again, thanks again for the great content. Okay, so if you have a passion for the personal finance side of the business, then I think a CFP is a really, really good way to create a credential. I mean, an MBA will give you a broad-based background, but a CFP is more specific. So to just read a little bit more about what that means, what I would encourage you to do is go to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards. There's two different websites. One is for people who want to become a CFP professional, and that is www.cfp.net. Let's check that out. I like that one as a good credential for you. All right. Thank you so much for writing, Kay. Hey, it's the end of the hour, which means next hour is our guest segment. We've got a fantastic duo, Russ Frushtick and Jeff Bakalar. They are the hosts of the 404 podcast, and you may have heard me on their podcast. It may be time for you to check them out on this show. It's Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, which means it's time for Jill on Money, the show that makes money fun and just happens to answer all your financial questions. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to Jill on Money, hour number 2. 1 hour done, 1 hour to go. But I have a very special guest. I have 2 special guests, rather. And maybe you've listened to this program and maybe you've heard somebody say something like, I've listened to you on the 404 and you never knew what that was. The 404 is actually another podcast that is essentially a technology podcast, but it's so much more than that. And I got to know the 404 guys when I was working at CBS Interactive, and we shared office space. So I became friends with one of the hosts. His name is Jeff Bakalar, and he would ask me financial advice from time to time. And I would be very clear about, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. And he once said to me, you know what, you should come on our show, our podcast. And it was actually the first podcast I ever did. How about that, Mark? That was a long time ago. Aunt Jill is what I became. They created a little hashtag for me that was Aunt Jill. I went on the show, and every so often I would go on the show. I'd answer questions for the audience. And essentially, that is how we started getting all of you young listeners to this radio show, because people came over to the radio show, and that's when we would get these questions, from a 28-year-old. So there are now 2 hosts of the 404, Jeff Bakalar and Russ Frushtick. And I asked them to come on to the radio show and turn the tables on them and get them to give us all the information about technology that we need. So here is the beginning of an interview with Jeff and Russ of the 404. What is the best financial decision you've ever made?
Oof.
Holy cow.
Cutting deep.
Stump the DJ.
Now, there is an answer. It could be, I've never made a good financial decision. That is a possible answer.
Best financial decision I ever made. I would say, it's weird because I feel like financial decisions and mental health decisions are in the same vein. And it's not always like, this is better for my overall bottom line if it's better for my life. So, for example, I was in a job 2 years ago that I was absolutely miserable with. The pay was great, and everything was working out great. And I basically looked at all my numbers, my savings, everything that I had, and figured out financially I can afford to quit this job that's making me absolutely miserable. And haven't looked back. So
that was a great
That's a good
decision.
answer.
I think that's an awesome decision.
Thank
and you know
you.
what? But what's also striking is that you had saved money.
I know.
Because if you don't have the savings,
Yeah, sure.
it's such a drag because you're
stuck.
robbed of this opportunity and you have no choice. You feel like, I hate that feeling. Jeff, what's the best financial decision you've made so far besides listening to me for the 15 different things you've asked me about in the last bunch of years?
Those are all connected, though. Anything wise that I've done has been a direct result of your advice. I think that goes without saying.
It has been true that there's been sometimes a call,
a text,
a text,
a frantic text.
Got time to talk?
Question
Question
mark,
mark,
question mark. Need
So-
you
it's like a booty
ASAP.
text.
What do you think? So, what do you think is the best financial decision you've made so far?
Mine is pure dumb luck. Maybe not dumb luck, but the timing of it was luck.
Buying
was
the co-op?
buying a condo
Yeah.
in
Hoboken.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the market.
You didn't mean to, but
We didn't mean to,
just-
but that was where we're at in life.
And now-
sometimes you cash in.
and now you're moving up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Now-
happening, right? You're
right.
buying a new house.
Which maybe isn't the best time to buy a house right now.
Why not?
Well, it's the best time to sell a house, so
Sure.
they go hand in hand.
It's
Yeah.
very nice to have both.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
All right. Now, why am I having you guys on the show? Because you are my tech gurus. And I was on the 404 and I said, you got to come on the podcast and help me out and with just the general trends. What's the thing you guys are like? What do I have to know about? Because I don't want to pay attention to anything in technology unless you say I have to pay attention to
Okay.
it.
Okay.
All right.
I got
so
some stuff.
Here's
Yeah,
my
me too.
question for you. Is Snap worth $35 billion?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Are you a Snapchatter?
I used to be more active on Snapchat, but now I switched back to. Don't look at me like
For
I'm
like
crazy.
6 months, were you active
No,
on Snapchat?
I would say like a year,
Okay.
a solid year. I was on the Snappies, but now
Yeah.
I'm back on the Insties. They pretty much copied Snapchat's best feature and did it better.
Yeah.
But it's a better program. And I already have an existing relationship with Instagram, as do many people, maybe not of my generation, but...
What do you mean about that? What are you saying, my generation?
Well, just saying, like, Snapchat is more of like a millennial
It-
thing, and I'm
yeah,
on the
it's younger.
higher end of the millennial
Do you just
thing.
get it squeaking under the limit there?
Yeah,
know.
the sand's running out of
I
that.
think I'm probably right on the edge.
You're the
Depends on who
I'm
you ask.
33,
Depends on what demographic.
and I think I'm not a millennial, but I think I'm close. My wife probably is. She's 28.
Yeah,
so.
she's a millennial. I've heard 1980. I've heard 1985. I'm 82.
So the rule of thumb that I've always gone by is if you were born and remember a time where the internet was not a thing, so like you didn't use it in school and stuff like that, if you remember that period of time, I don't think you're a millennial.
Okay. All right. Mark, I'm not a millennial.
Breaking.
By a nose.
Breaking news. I remember dial phones. Let me ask you a question about the Snap first.
Yeah, 'cause
Russ, are you a user of the Snap?
No, I've really, really tried. And so this relates to like the value of the company. I think Snap was designed very intentionally to be opaque to people that have been using the internet for a very long time and very relatively easy for kids to get into. Kids are abandoning Facebook. Facebook has become an old ground, and Snapchat is where kids go. But can Snapchat evolve to the point where they maintain this audience in the way that like MTV has always tried to maintain the younger audience and just let the other audiences go to like VH1, whatever? I think it's, from a long-term perspective, very difficult for Snapchat to maintain that audience without building a much more casual audience. So I think I agree with Jeff. I think they're overvalued.
158 million daily active users.
Yeah, but they can't grow.
But let me
having
say,
trouble
forgetting about
growing.
that, but what are those people buying? If they're 19,
not.
what are they, like,
They have
how
no
do you
money.
monetize them?
They have no money.
But you're getting impressions, right?
Right.
You know, video impressions especially, which have value to
Well,
them.
but the only thing that they're able to sell are those discovery pack
Sure.
things that you get by swiping 4 times to the left. The discovery section of Snapchat is also not viewed as much
Sure.
or used as much
Right.
as the other
I
features.
think the assumption is, especially when it comes to Silicon Valley, like startups, stuff like that, you build this audience with a very like nice, welcoming product, and then as revenue hawks start coming in, that's when you start leveraging all these, things that throwing in more ads, mid-roll, stuff like that. You've seen that on Facebook already happen. And I think a year or two from now, Snapchat will start pushing that stuff further and further towards the front.
and do more of like the sponsored face goggle
Don't you think
thing.
it would
Make
be
money.
so much fun if the whole thing fell apart? I mean, there would be sort of like a funny, it's not going to.
I mean,
because
that's
there's
Twitter,
enough
though. Like, Twitter forever was...
lost 2/3 of its value since the IPO. I mean,
know, it's
that's
crazy.
insane.
But that's the thing. Twitter is a utility more than a product. Snapchat, I don't think, is a utility. So that would kind of contradict my point of like them not being able to turn a profit. But I just don't. I see it more of like as a fad than an actual ecosystem the way Facebook is.
Okay, we'll get back to my interview with Russ Frushtick and Jeff Bakalar in a second. Maybe while we're on the break, you can start figuring out your technology questions, and I can get them over to Jeff and Russ. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Our phone number here, 855-411-JILL. We'll be right back.
Have a question? Call anytime, 24/7, 855-411-JILL. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 855-411-JILL. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. All right, so here's what you need to know. You have financial questions, you give us a call, right? I have technology questions, where do I go? Mark, you're not, even though you are young, you're not exactly, well, though I did use you once for, what did we do? Like didn't I do something funny where it's like the iPhone, I needed you to like do an emergency iPhone intervention with me? I can't remember what it was. It was like I erased something or a setting or something, and I was freaking out. And I call him, and I'm like, oh, my God, help me. But normally when I have a technology question, I've got to go to experts. And there are no better experts than Jeff Bakalar and Russ Frushtick. They are the hosts of The 404 Show. That is the popular CNET podcast. And they do everything, right? They do tech, but they also do pop culture and movies and comics and video games. You know, one time, this must have been a long time ago, 8 or 9 years ago, when I first got to CBS, I remember Jeff is a video game reviewer. And I remember that my nephew wanted a certain video game. And I said to Jeff, like, oh, my God, should I get this for him? And because I thought it was like maybe it's too violent. And then Jeff said it was fine. So he would hold my hand through those kinds of questions. And then when, I was trying to figure out whether to get an iPhone or an Android, he helped me there. In other words, Jeff kind of keeps me relevant. And so too with Russ. I've known Jeff longer, but the two of them are so helpful about everything. And so when I need like a technical question I ask, but also when I want to know what's going on and what lies ahead for technology, I need to check in with them. And you will see why. Because as we talk, they do what we do here. They are able to take complex stuff and boil it down and make it fun and understandable for those of us who are not immersed in it. And that's why I love them both. So now back to our interview with Jeff Bakalar and Russ Frushtick. They are the hosts of The 404 Show and guests here at Jill on Money. What's the next new thing, guys? What do I need to know? What's the next thing I'm not going to use?
You're talking about like an app?
Yeah.
The app stuff is tough. I mean, I want to know like what's going to happen to Uber.
I think Uber has a lot of baggage in terms of their brand and stuff like that. So that I mean, I was just in San Francisco and I literally did not use Uber once. I used Lyft the whole time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with their brand and their perception that they're putting out there. And it's pretty gross.
And then again, I mean, like, I feel bad for the cab drivers, but it's not as if they've been the most professional group in many of these cities.
I think there's a legacy there of like complacency.
Yeah, there was no accountability. There was no review system for your cab driver.
And I think if anything, that's the big benefit of Uber's introduction into the market is that, well, now everyone has to really sort of grow up a little bit.
All right, what else do I need to worry about? Do I need to worry about robots taking all of our jobs? Are you guys loving the robot action here?
I'm very paranoid when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
they're not going to take the job of podcast
No,
host.
I realize that.
That's a big assumption.
Yet,
Big
but
assumption. Siri.
but like the most popular job in America, they're gonna take probably and truck driver. That I mean, I think fleets of like the second Walmart does it, which I think has the biggest fleet in America. Second they do it, where they're like, oh, these robots have killed less people than humans.
Yeah.
That's going to really change the face of employment in the country.
But you do agree that like we are decades away from being in a situation.
I don't
where
know if we're decades.
maybe a decade.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think like the transition of moving from manual to automatic is not going to be smooth, and there is probably going to be like a 5-year period where it's like maybe we just don't go anywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or just, let's let the dust settle.
Yeah.
But I do think the second Walmart falls in line and another big fleet of trucks fall in line with autonomous trucks, yeah.
But there's always going to be someone in the car, don't you think?
I don't know.
I was
Like
just
if the
gonna
car
ask that.
breaks down, like you're in Route 66 in the middle of the desert, and the car breaks down, like
it pulls over.
yeah,
Right.
and,
And
then
then,
calls
like,
a
the
drone
robot-
to come fix
the
it.
robot
the drone
tow
comes
truck-
in. The drone comes and drops your spare tire or something.
Like UPS is going to roll out
Yeah,
a drone delivery service. So there's still a truck driver, but the
Right.
truck driver doesn't deliver the package to the front door. It's that last leg of delivery that's the most
Yeah.
cost inefficient for UPS.
The
Really?
stopping and
It's
going,
like
yeah.
sending it across the country, routing it through hubs, that's all gravy.
Yeah.
They make tons of money on efficiency. But it's the last leg of that delivery where UPS is like,
There's
hemorrhaging
too
money.
many variables.
So it's like you have the guy with the T-shirt gun
Yeah,
in the arena.
essentially.
It's like boom,
Yeah.
and that your stuff comes to you just like that.
Basically, except it'll hopefully be gingerly landed by a drone.
We got autonomous driving
Yeah.
vehicles. We have the death of these poor truck. What are these truckers going to do?
Build the
No.
robots?
No.
Oh, maybe, but yeah, who builds the robots? The robots probably build the
So
robots.
they're out of work.
That's a cliched answer. I don't have an answer for that. What are the coal miners going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the issue that we're running into. And we go through these periods of time where it's like this industry no longer has a purpose. The service industry that's where a lot of these jobs are going.
Yeah.
It's just a question of like, is there a 1-to-1 ratio of like as many jobs are being
No,
lost?
there's not.
What do I need to know about VR and AI?
Check
Whoa,
out.
why did you say those two
AI.
don't really go hand in hand?
I
You mean
don't know
AR
because I like to artificial intelligence.
Okay.
and virtual reality?
And virtual
Those
reality.
are two completely different.
I
Yeah.
know. What do I need to know about each of
Which
them?
order?
Let's do VR.
Okay, so VR, right?
Check out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like right now the temperature on that's pretty lukewarm.
And falling.
And
Oh,
yeah,
really?
like
Good.
just for some inside baseball, VR interest on CNET has tanked.
Really?
It never
Yeah.
really was super high for us either.
Yeah.
And it's only like fallen off a cliff since.
Why is that?
I think it's because so many people get the idea of it, they've seen videos of it, but they aren't willing to buy the hardware. And at this point, they're just like, well, okay, I get it. It's like not a world-changing thing like everyone thought it was going to be. I love it. I think it's super cool. But from a broad perspective, like it needs to be the size of my glasses before it has any viability.
By the
It's
way, those are
completely-
not small glasses.
no,
either
they're
that
not.
you're wearing.
So we're close.
We're getting there.
It's completely impractical. You need to invest thousands of dollars
Yeah.
from scratch to get going with
Yeah,
it.
$1,000 is the low end.
$1,000.
And
Okay.
PlayStation has one for their PS4 system, which
Well, you can do on mobile. You can do mobile stuff for cheaper, like $500.
Yeah, but
for
if you
mobile.
want like full immersion with controllers and stuff like that, you're looking at $1,000. PSVR, the PlayStation VR one, is okay, but it's that sort of ran out of steam too.
Yeah.
Virtual reality crossing it right off my list.
I mean,
Thank
I
God. Something I don't have to deal with. This
Check
is
back
great.
in 4 years.
All right, I'll be back with you. Let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence.
Okay.
I have some friends who are in medical research, and they talk a lot about the application of AI in medicine as
Sure.
being like the coolest freaking
Sure.
thing. Or as my friend says, this is how radiologists are going to go out of business, or like that. Like it's really sort of like an amazing thing that they're starting to see already. The investment in artificial intelligence to enhance what human beings do. For the radiologists out there, relax. I'm just kidding.
But that plays into the same conversation we had about robots
Yep.
and automation. Everyone worries about going for a second opinion on something. Well, what if you had the opinion of every doctor ever who
Yeah.
ever existed right away?
And it's a diagnostic tool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So there's something kind of cool that I think is intriguing and was somehow using all of this amazing artificial intelligence, but with like the human ability to kind of parse through,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so it could make your office visit to the doctor a lot more quicker and more efficient.
I think the big things are like machine learning, which is just like using AI to, as you said, parse through all this data, and then you could have a human at the end say, okay, it's either this, or this. And also for the implication on surgery is crazy. Having, human guided, but still effectively, they were already using this, but effectively you have AI controlling a scalpel in an incredibly detailed procedure where a human could never, ever do that. I mean, laser eye surgery already uses stuff like this. So, like, they're absolutely right. The implications for medicine are crazy.
All right, Jill on Money, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. When we come back, more of my interview with Jeff Bakalar and Russ Frushtick.
It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 65. Jill Schlesinger is here to help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, you should give us a holler. 855-411-JILL. You can also send us an email. Ask Jill@jillonmoney.com. Mark, do you listen to music in your apartment? You don't. I really had stopped listening to music in my apartment. First of all, I listen to podcasts obsessively, and I hope that you all, because if you're a radio listener, podcasting's for you. You should check out our new podcast called Better. It's not so new anymore. Should I just say our podcast? Should I get the word new out? Okay. You should check out our podcast, Better Off. It's kind of like the radio show. It's a little different, though. You can get it on Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere else you find your favorite podcasts. The reason why I asked you about music is that I was doing some work in my apartment, and like a zillion years ago, the people who owned the apartment prior to me, they had these speakers that were built into the wall, and we were painting and everything. And the guy who I used to kind of talk about technology in the apartment said to me, "Oh, you don't need those speakers. You just need Sonos." I didn't know anything about it. This is why I really need to be talking to technology people more often. And thankfully, and thanks to Russ Frushtick and Jeff Bakalar, I have technology people. But like, you want to stay current. And the reason why I mention Sonos is that like I was just blown away how easy it is. It is essentially a way to like create a speaker system in your apartment, and you run it from your iPhone. It is so cool. You got to do it. It's amazing. And that is what we're talking about. Things that you need to know about that are going on right now in technology. Russ and Jeff right now on Jill on Money. What about other areas, Jeff?
I think home automation stuff is going to be the most practical thing that people are exposed to in the immediate future. You kind of have to dictate how much of your life and home is going to involve that. But I think a lot of the digital assistant stuff, your Alexas, your Google Homes, the Echo, that kind of stuff, I think is going to play a major role in people's first experience with some kind of artificial intelligence. It's approachable, it's accessible, surface level stuff, but it's still impressive tech.
Are you a Siri, Alexa kind of household?
Not yet. When I get a house, I'll probably wire that baby up.
Yeah.
What about you, Russ?
We have an Echo.
Yeah.
So that's the Alexa. And I love it. I think it's great.
I don't want her talking to me. I got
don't
a lot of
talk to
voices
her.
in my head.
She won't talk to you if you don't talk to her.
So tell me how you use it on a day-to-day basis.
So I use it day to day. Like I'm leaving the house, I'm like getting breakfast and whatever, and I can just say, Alexa, what's the weather? And I'll get the weather. So I do that. I say like, I'll have Alexa play Spotify for me. There's a lot of stuff that like I would do if I wasn't like on the couch and relaxing and my phone's far away from me and I'm being lazy. So I can just like cue up music or whatever. I don't do the whole thing where like the lights turn on. Like you could go to that extent if you wanted to.
No more clapper.
Yeah, you just say, Alexa, I'm home or whatever.
Alexa, water the lawn.
Yeah.
Alexa.
You could do that stuff.
Maybe you can, I'm sure so that's the cool thing is that it's open, it's kind of open source.
Yeah.
So people who make smart things like appliances and other junk for your house, they can talk to Alexa. So she can learn, like it's a person, she can learn these things called skills, like the CNET news skill, which will play my voice.
Just Jeff. I could just say the name and Jeff appears before
no,
me.
I'm
like
serious.
Genie.
Like the thing, I record something for CNET every day that goes to Echo.
There's a Jeopardy app, a skill, which is very cool. You can listen to all the Jeopardy questions from the day before and try to answer them. I think it's all of them.
Wow. On one hand, I'm sort of thrilled, and on the other hand, I'm sort of frightened.
What are you afraid of?
I don't know.
People listening?
I don't know. I guess I feel like it's sort of intrusive in one way, except you're right. You control it.
Yeah, you get what you
I
put
feel like
into
it's
it.
like you can sort of be really lazy, and I'm already
Oh,
lazy.
yeah. You could
not,
definitely.
You're not lazy. You're
well,
up every morning at 3 a.m.
I know, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, I could ride that couch.
I'm sure you can.
Siri, Alexa, Jeff, could you play me the next thing on? I wouldn't even have to hit the next episode button. It would just go.
I just find that there are instances where, like, music, for example, I'm at home relaxing. I was like, I could listen to some music, and then it would, like, leave my mind. And I wouldn't think about it. But because it's so easy, I can, like, do that and be on to doing other things. It makes me more productive.
Will either Siri or Alexa cook dinner for me?
Not yet.
That
But
would be
we'll
awesome.
order you Domino's if that's
That's
your thing.
awesome.
Easily order.
I just want you to see Mark grimacing. What a world. He is so old-fashioned. So he's very...
Mark's a Luddite.
He's a total
Was it the
Luddite.
Domino's that put him off?
I don't
Domino's
know.
puts
First of all,
everyone off.
Domino's would put him off anyway.
Yeah.
He's Italian-American.
Yeah,
so
come on.
He's the guy who, like, runs around Times Square yelling at people who are in the Olive Garden.
Oh, you're
Say-
wasting
he
your
says-
time.
He'll say to them, he says, "You are in New York. Have pizza, for God's sakes."
Yeah, you're wasting your time, Mark.
All right, before we finish up, let's have a little homage to Apple.
Okay.
So here, remember when I went from a 4 to a 6 and you guys laughed at me?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you waited
sure.
way too long.
Wait till, do I have to...
What is that? That's a 6?
6.
Okay.
Do I have to
you're
go to
good.
an 8?
Maybe.
It couldn't hurt. I don't think you would necessarily notice because I don't think you're doing anything super intensive on your phone.
I think when you jump every 2 years, I think that's kind of the move.
Yeah,
Is to get a new phone every 2
But
years.
I think that's like the most techie. I mean, technically you could do it every year, but like I think 2 years is even probably overkill for you, Jill.
Okay.
I think every 3 years would be fine. You're not going to run into an issue where your phone's not working anymore by the end of that's about the end of the life cycle.
I
would say.
like that lately. I don't know when it happened, but like you can get by now with like the last 3 iPhones.
Yeah.
Like you can have
That's
a
pretty
5
good, right?
and be okay. Even a 4S is probably okay right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
You might
struggling
start-
a little
yeah.
bit, but like you can kind of make it work with an iPhone 5.
You know what's interesting? I am addicted to it. Remember when Jeff and I said to you, should I get an Android? And I was going to get this, and you're like, nah.
Yeah, I mean I use an Android, and I told you not.
You did. You did. All right, you ready for your last question here?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
You went from the beginning, we said your best financial decision.
Yeah.
Now your worst financial decision. Jeff, you go first.
Oh man, the worst financial decision I ever getting a credit card in college.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad one.
I mean, it had a small limit, but I got there.
Yeah.
Quick.
Russ?
Yeah. So during my sojourns trying a variety of different jobs a couple years ago, I started at a startup company. And this is not devastating by any means, but essentially I negotiated for more options because I really thought there was a big future there and ended up losing a fair bit of money because they sold, but they totally screwed over all the common stockholders. So, again, not devastating. I've never been like crushed by a financial decision, but like frustrating. That sucks.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It happens.
It happens.
It
Sometimes
happens.
life happens.
It does. Thanks so much to Russ Frushtick and Jeff Bakalar, the hosts of the 404, for joining us. They're the best. If you've got a financial question, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
Scar tissue that I wish you saw.
You're back with Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. Woo! If you've got a financial question, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Okay, got a question about 529 plans. And so here's what you need to know. First of all, it takes a lot of money to pay for college. And for most people, you're not going to pay for the whole thing up front. If you're lucky enough to make a bunch of moolah, then you may be able to. I get that. But for most people, what are you looking at? You're looking at federal and state government awards. You're looking at colleges and universities, financial aid. Yes, you have to fill out the FAFSA form, and it's tough and it's rough, but you got to do it. You get scholarships, and then you get this offer, and then you got to figure out how much of this is you're going to pay for yourself. But, the reality is that saving for college is really awesome. And one of the best ways to save for college is through something called a 529 plan. Now, there are other ways to save for college: a Coverdell Education Savings Account, an UTMA or an UGMA account, savings bonds, just plain old investment accounts. But why do I like 529 plans? I like 529 plans because it is essentially like a Roth IRA for education. That's the beauty of it. And the way they work is that 529 plans are run by each state. And, you can go and check out different websites for this. I always go to savingforcollege.com, but there's lots of other ones. And so this is not an endorsement. I just been telling you it's an easy one to use. So the 529 plan, you take an after-tax dollar, you put the money in the account, it grows, it grows, it grows. And then when you take it out to pay for qualified education expenses, guess what? No tax due. Fabulous, right? So you can usually enroll in any 529 plan, but the ones that are really ranked at the top are the ones that have low fees. That said, you got to check with your own state to see whether your state offers any sort of tax incentive for using the plan. Let me give you an example. We are broadcasting this show from New York. New York has a 529 plan. It's a direct plan where it goes straight to this program, and it features age-based portfolios. It has other, static portfolios, but it uses Vanguard funds. So it's cheap. But what the real reason why it's so awesome is that the New York plan offers residents an income tax deduction for the state income tax. So what you need to be clear about is if you're going to use a 529 plan, you want to make sure that your plan in your state has something that you want to take a look at. If it has a state income tax deduction, you probably should use it. If it doesn't, if you don't actually have any state income tax deduction, then some of the higher rated plans are Nevada, Utah, Alaska, Maryland. Again, they all use cheap funds. The amount of money you can put into these plans is usually on an annual basis the annual gift tax amount, right? So that's the $14,000 that you can give away to anybody. That said, if you have a ton of money, you can usually, not every single plan allows this, but many plans allow it so that each parent can give $14,000, $28,000. And if you just got some chunk of money, you can probably, in most plans, again, you got to check, give a gift in contemplation for the next 5 years. So you could put a lump sum in there. Just know that any money that you put into a 529 plan is going to impact your kid's ability to get financial aid. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't save, because it's not assessed at a huge number. So the parent owns the account, the kid's the beneficiary. I still love it. I think it's an amazing way to save for college. I think it's the one downside that people cite about 529 plans is that you can't use it for private high school. But too bad, you can't. So I think that's the 529 spiel. Check it out. I have to say, I just think that you want to go with a directly sold 529 plan, directly sold. You can have a broker sell these for you or an advisor, but you don't need that. They're all the same. It's pretty much the same. So please check it out and know what you're saving for. And don't get too cute. All right? Whew. Mark has a 529 plan, right? He's got 3, 1 for each of the kids. By the way, 529 plan, the assets can be moved between the kids. So even if you save a lot for one kid and you don't use it all up, you may be able to use it for another kid. You could also use it for yourself. So that's kind of cool, too. 529 plans. I always thought that they were going to get rid of them because it's almost too good to be true. But they haven't. So use them. Okay, you're listening to Jill on Money, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
With the bird shed, it's a lonely view. With the bird shed, it's a lonely view. Soft spoken with a broken jaw. Step outside, but not to brawl. And autumn sweet wind, call it fall. I'll make it to the moon if I have to crawl. And with the bird shed, it's a lonely view. With the bird shed, it's a lonely view. With the bird shed, it's a lonely.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Here's somebody who wrote in after listening to our podcast, Better Off, which you should check out. You can get it on Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere else you get your favorite podcasts. And I wanted to do it on the radio show as well because he actually came to us from the radio show originally, and he says, I like the new Better Off format. Okay, so good. Anyway, we had a caller into the podcast about HSAs, health savings accounts. And I wanted to just make sure that we did this on both the podcast and the radio show because it is a great point that was made. So HSAs, basically you can put money in. It covers unreimbursed expenses for health care. And you can put in $3,400 for an individual, $6,750 for a family. So here's the cool thing. Here's one consideration. This was for somebody who was 22 years old who was using a high deductible plan through his employer with an HSA. And here is what Jay writes. Here's something that the caller may not be aware of. At 22 years old, he's permitted to be covered under his parents' health plan for 4 more years. And if that plan is HSA compatible, he and his parents are both permitted to contribute up to the statutory annual HSA maximum for family coverage. In other words, he can contribute $6,750 a year, right? That's the family coverage. I said $3,400, but that was an individual. $6,750 a year, and wait a minute, and his parents can as well. So the parents can keep him covered on their plan, and he can help with the premiums, which would permit him to do double his HSA contribution over the next 4 years. So I know this is a narrow thing, but what I point out to you is that there are some really great, smart financial planning gems out there, and we love when our audience takes the time to remind us of that. That's Jay Savin, who is CFP. So thanks for writing in, Jay, and thanks to you for listening. It's Jill on Money, 855-411-JILL. Our email, askjill at JillOnMoney.com, and we'll see you next week.